Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. I want to first off say there's going to be spoilers in this video. So if you haven't watched Season 7, Episode 4 of The Walking Dead yet, you're probably not going to want to watch this video. But if you don't care about The Walking Dead, you don't watch it anyways, you're definitely going to want to watch this because I think that there's a lot of things that can be taken away from that show. I know a lot of people say it's fiction, and it absolutely is. In a macro sense, it's not a very plausible scenario in the sense that they're talking about a zombie apocalypse. And, yes, that's a very highly unlikely scenario unless you're talking about some virulent strand of rabies or something like that. And even that, would probably not end up like The Walking Dead. There's so many things in The Walking Dead that don't make sense from a plausibility standpoint. But on a micro scale, the social dynamics of a world like that, I think there is a lot of plausibility to it. And that's where we can take away. Because you got to remember that there's a lot of creatively minded people working on that show. And as the saying goes, life does imitate art. And if it can happen, it probably will happen somewhere. Now, I'm going to be doing a weekly video series just about lessons learned from the most recent episode of The Walking Dead. So I'm about 4 episodes behind for Season 7. I'm just going to jump right to Episode 4. And I'm already really upset with where the crew has gone and how pussified they've become and how much of a pacifist Rick has suddenly become. The guy's just been totally traumatized and broken by watching 2 of his buddies getting whacked over the head with a baseball bat and watching some psychotic tyrant threaten to make him cut his son's hand off. I think that if the psychopathic killer who unabashedly took joy in basically pulverizing 2 of my comrades in front of me and tormenting the rest of my group, if he was dumb enough to let me go, and I had an arsenal, and I had a fortress like Alexandria, and I had people who were hardened, who had survived all of these other scenarios, the gangbangers, Terminus, the Marauders, all of these groups that they've survived, and they have home field advantage. They have a bazooka. I mean, you could set up booby traps. There's so much stuff you could do. You could have 5 guys trained with sniper rifles on Negan. You take Negan out, you take the head of the snake out, that game is almost over right there. Now, the lesson that we can take away from this episode is this. So Negan goes in with his group and they find, the arsenal. They want to know where the guns are. And where the guns are, there's this inventory book, which basically tells everything they have. Now, I'm not 100% certain yet, and it very well may be the case that they put that book there as a deceptive tactic, as a form of subterfuge to make Negan think that that's what they had, when really they have a lot more and it's stashed away somewhere. That's a possibility. But it's looking like they were just that stupid to hand over all their guns and a complete inventory of everything they had. I think if you have some sort of inventory of your preps, I think it's a good idea. But there's 2 things to take away. One is not to have all your eggs in one basket. Have caches out there somewhere, split up your supplies. Even if you have all your supplies in one place, or, especially if you have caches in different places, you might want to be cautious about inventorying your preps. Because, of course, if somebody ever came across that information, they would know everything you had. But you could also use this tactic to your advantage. You could lie about what you had. You could have sort of a decoy inventory book, if you will. And, to go to that length of preparedness is pretty extreme. Like if you have the time to make a decoy inventory book and make it seem pretty plausible, because of course you would have to have a history with it. It couldn't just be freshly written up, or else it would seem pretty obvious that it was a decoy. But I think you get what I'm saying. So the lesson learned is, don't keep all your eggs in one basket. If you are going to have an inventory book, make sure it's well protected or hidden away or not very accessible. I think another lesson that could be learned from this video is the idea of inventorying and rationing stuff, or having a person designated to do that in the first place. I think if you are in a community like that, you're going to have somebody who is trustworthy and who you feel is capable and has the organizational skill set to be able to ration and divvy out and, you know, be able to project, you know, predict how long you're going to be able to last on your current supplies. You know, I think that's going to be an important role, especially if you're all drawing from a shared pool of resources, which may well be the case. I think that's a very underestimated role because it's not a very sensational role. And of course, the woman who had that role in Alexandria tend to get overlooked. Her character hasn't been developed that much. She's kind of just there in the shadows. But definitely a critical part of a prepping community is who's going to keep the books. And so something to think about anyways. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm going to try to do one of these videos every week if there's a lesson to be learned. There's not always going to be a lesson to be learned in every Walking Dead episode. But, you know, we take what we can get. It's entertainment. It's better than sports, if you ask me. Anyways, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned. The best videos on this channel, I guarantee you, are yet to come. I have another After the Collapse video coming up in the next week or so. It's not the next installment of Gangs in SHTF After the Collapse. That one is still on hold. I have to have the inspiration to do these things. You know, it's kind of like when the time is right, I do it. And, you know, when I feel that I have something really significant and relevant to say, I just haven't had that feeling with that video yet. Even though the script is there, everything is done, it's just a matter of compiling it all together. But this one is going to be interesting. It's actually about time after the collapse. So stay tuned for that and many other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.